And we're live.
Oh my gosh, I'm live.
I'll turn off the comments once we get started, so I can't see them.
Turn off the comments for you.
Yeah, so I can't see them in the side here. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome. This is another Q&A installment of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. This is where you all submit your questions to Andrew. He asked them of me live. First time I've ever heard these questions. Well, I don't know about them ahead of time. I shouldn't say I've never heard these questions before. This is the 21st time we've done this, the 21st installment of the Q&A series. And yeah, Andrew, the Q&A can drink.
That's pretty amazing.
If the Q&A could drink, what would it be? What would the Q&A drink? It's 21, so it would probably be, Aftershock.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something that is not very classy. Aftershock with like Bud Light chasers.
Okay, so I did find something interesting. We've got I'm going to close watching this on my iPad because I can see the comments in StreamYard up here.
Oh, that's cool. Right on. And yeah, so if you're watching live, you can contribute on this. Sometimes when we've got a really good plan, we will announce ahead of time exactly when this is going to happen, but we don't always have that good of a time that we know, right? Like we don't always know when these are going to happen. And giving you 20 minutes notice just doesn't feel like enough. You're going to get the notification in your stream.
Yep.
Instead of doing our big ol' intro, we're just going to jump into it. Thank you to those of you who are here. Thank you to those of you who watch or listen later. Appreciate all of you. Andrew, what's up? What are we doing first?
Stacy's here in the chat. She says, good morning.
Good morning, Stacy.
I have a question here coming from Stacy, but I'm going to put it as question number 2.
Okay.
First question is from our good friend, Mark Warner. And Mark's question is, as one who believes in manifesting one's own destiny, do you see Whistlekick's destiny manifesting in the way you originally envisioned?
No, not even close. I thought we were going to be a product company. I thought the way to get where we needed to be was to make better versions of the stuff everybody had. Better versions of gear, better versions of uniforms, better versions of various training products. And we've done great stuff. Here's the best example of one that did not go anywhere. Andrew, in some circles, they're called pork chops. It's a single paddle.
Yep.
Right. I had them made with 2 different colors, one on each side. Because that way the person holding them out for drills could add a ton of complexity just by saying colors. And I used red and blue in the first version because they're single syllables. So you could put that out and go red, blue, and people would have to react in time. There are like 1,001 drills you could have come up with that did not work when both sides were the same color. I ultimately ended up selling them at a loss because no one would buy them, right? So clearly we weren't where we needed to be on the product side. And I just kept going, all right, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What are the things that we do well? And what that turned into was realizing that the best things we do are the free content, lifestyle, supportive elements. Martial Arts Radio, First Cup, free training day, right? These things really showcase our philosophy and what makes Whistlekick different from some of the other brands out there. And so we're just leaning into that. It doesn't mean that we don't have products. At some point, the factory is going to send me more sparring gear. Like that sells reasonably well, but we can't build on that because it's not enough. That wasn't growing well enough, and the profit wasn't there in such a way that was going to take us where we needed to go. We needed to do other things. And so what are we known for now? Yeah, there are people that know us for having great gear, or there are some people out there who've purchased uniforms that we do not have in stock and may not ever again. They love those. But mostly what we're known for is this podcast and Free Training Day.
Cool. Excellent. Stacy says, All In Weekend, though not free, is a unique to Whistlekick event that is amazing.
Thank you. Yes, I would say it is. And that's an example of taking the free stuff that we do and giving you a path up. If you like martial arts radio, you probably have at least considered joining the Patreon, because we do a lot of exclusive and bonus martial arts radio style stuff there.
Yeah.
If you like Free Training Day, we've got something that is similar in spirit, all in weekend. And some people call it the freemium model, the idea like you give away much of your stuff, and if people really find value in it and they want more, they can pay and get more.
So how can they do that? Like, let's talk about Patreon really quickly.
Okay. So our Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick, we have, let's see, 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and $100 tiers. What's that, 6?
Yeah, I think so.
The $2 tier, you get behind the scenes, you get to know who's coming on the show. Sometimes we do some other things. Actually, we were just having a conversation about something else that we would drop in there. It's for people who want to kind of stay connected, and they're not going to throw a bunch of money at it. Totally fine. We appreciate every single nickel that comes in. Every penny goes to offsetting the cost. This show is not free. It's not, I wouldn't even call it cheap to put on. There are fees that we have to incur. But starting at the $5 tier, we give you merch, stickers, shirts, things like that.
See all these
Andrew's
stickers?
Covering his printer in stickers.
All my Whistle Kick stickers I got from Patreon.
At $5, you also get a bonus martial arts radio episode you're not going to find anywhere else. At $10, you get a video version of that, or sometimes it's a different episode. Sometimes I'll do something I've been working on training-wise, like a new drill or something. At $25, you get training programs, book drafts, and at $50 and $100, you get access to either the School Owners Mastermind or direct training from me.
The other thing that you get that we rarely talk about, and I know it's going to sound hokey, but it's so totally true, you get the knowledge to know that you are helping this show continue to grow and get better. You know, I was a Patreon subscriber long before I had ever come on the show, and it made me feel good to know that I am personally helping this show happen, and that to some degree, the show would not be as good if I didn't help support it.
We just had a conversation. So here's a little bit of behind the scenes. I'll be quick on this. We are putting this out over StreamYard. We do most of our episodes on Zoom. Andrew and I are in the midst of conversations about, do we make a change? And we're talking about how those changes might manifest, what would be up, what would be a pro, what would be a con of making that change. But one thing that entered that conversation was, if we did this, we then do this because it gives us better quality. I never hold back anything that's going to give us better quality video, better quality audio. Like, we do that. Like, I don't hesitate. And so that thing that I'm talking about doing, it's like $25 a month. So there's another, what's that, $300 a year that we would plunk down just for better quality.
Yep.
I don't hesitate on that stuff.
So excellent. All right. Next question is from Stacy, who's in the chat. So I hope she likes your answer. If not, she'll tell us.
Thank you, Stacy.
So Stacy's question is, what is a reasonable time length for a belt exam? And I'm going to give you two answers, one for an under black belt and one for a black belt.
Okay. As with so many things, it is based on the style of training. Here's an example we've talked about before. I find it reprehensible that martial arts classes that do not put a priority on cardiovascular conditioning require a certain amount of running and finishing a mile in a certain time. You're supposed to be testing people based on their knowledge of what you've given to them, right? That's completely separate. Here's why that's, I think, relevant in this case. If your classes are an hour, and the most people have ever trained at one time in your school is an hour, and then you expect them to do a 6-hour test, that's out of sequence to me. That doesn't line up. The purpose of any test should be, I think, to verify the knowledge that the testing candidates have and to challenge them a bit. So those tests shouldn't be 5 minutes, because that's not enough time to challenge them. But they should also not be 12 hours long. I know I've heard of schools that brag, our black belt test is 3 days long. I know some schools who do an appropriate multi-day black belt test, but I also know others that just brag about beating on their students for days on end. Okay. If someone is used to training, 2 to 3 hours a day, multiple days per week, their test should probably be longer. So I think there's a correlation. I don't think there's a maximum time or an appropriate time. I think there's a minimum that is obviously silly. I think there's a maximum. Like if I said your black belt test will be 365 days. Nobody's going to want to do that. Nobody's going to put their life on hold for their black belt. So those are obviously extremes. Now, as we get a little bit more time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, now we're starting to get into time that could be appropriate. A week, a couple days, a day, 12 hours. Okay, so now we're getting into things that are more appropriate. But it's so subjective as long as it is correlated by the volume and style of training. I don't think the duration is as appropriate.
Okay.
It is as, that's not the right word. I don't think the duration is as concerning.
And do you think spectators should be allowed? That's also from Stacy.
Again, depends on the culture of the school and what the style of testing is. I have had both. My original black belt test, no spectators were permitted. More recently, I've seen plenty of schools. I've participated in black belt tests. My last one with Superfoot was quite public. In fact, there were guests on the board. And that was also really cool for different reasons. As long as the instructor or school owner is, again, connecting those dots in a logical way, depends on what you want people to get out of it.
Yeah, that's great. And people get out of it what they put in. We say that all the time about martial arts. And
exactly,
if you want to get
what you put in.
Yep, absolutely. And one way you can get more out of Whistle Kick is to go to our family page.
I continue to enjoy making the updates to the family page, and I know most people don't look at it because I look at the statistics, I see it, which is interesting. We have quite a few people who check out this show. We have lots of people who come to whistlekick.com. We have tons of people who look at our social media. We make that easy, but not everything in life is meant to be easy. And that's why you have to type it in. It's why it's not linked from the navigation, because I'm going to put a small hurdle in front of you to test how much that means to you. And it's why I have no problem putting discounts in on certain things that don't go anywhere else. It's why I don't mind putting in the most personal information that occurs anywhere within the Whistle Kick, I don't know, universe sounds like a weird word, but just diaspora there. It's a weirder word, but more appropriate. The Whistle Kick diaspora. And because casual fans of what we do, casual listeners, which we love everybody. This is not me belittling anyone. But if you're really passionate about what we're doing, if you're really along for the mission, you're probably going to find value in that page. So you take that step. You type in whistlekick.com/family because it's the only way to get there. And you see stuff that you're likely to find value in because of who you are and your connection to what we do.
Yep. All right. You ready for your next question?
I'm ready.
All right. So Mark is asking diaspora what?
DIASPORA.
There you go. By the way, people, if you are watching live and you want to ask a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. I can see it and I'll ask. The next question is from Mark Warner, who's in the chat, which is awesome. And his question is...
Mark's a huge supporter. I really appreciate him.
Yeah. His question is, if you met a martial artist so duplicitous that they would destroy their school, their students, their other teachers, and their style to forward their own agenda, what would you do?
Oof. Probably wouldn't do anything. Because if someone is that self-destructive, how do you stop them? How in World War II, which I have like bits of knowledge of history on, one of the most difficult strategies for the Allied forces to overcome were Japanese kamikaze pilots. How do you keep someone at bay when they have no line, when they are willing to sacrifice everything to get what they want? You cannot stop them. If someone is willing to die, and while this might not be life and death, this is personal relationship death, this is reputation death, this is someone willing to give up absolutely everything that they have to further whatever their interests are, you can't stop that. You could also look at this, and I'm going to take a little bit of a liberty with the question and kind of flip it, in that if someone is truly dedicated to what they want, you cannot stop them. And that is a good thing. If you want something, if you are truly driven for something, you cannot be stopped. You will find a way. And if that requires sacrifice, you'll do it because it's that important to you. If someone is willing to sacrifice their students, their school, their reputation, their rank, their style, in order to, I'm trying to come up with something that would be so important. Let's say they want a film career, that it's ego driven. They want to be on film or something. I don't know how to stop that. I don't know that I have the right to tell someone to stop that. It's their school. It's their students.
Mm-hmm.
You could take a look at my history with the school I had and say that I did this. I had a school. I wouldn't call it successful, but it was profitable. I enjoyed it. My students were learning. They were getting better. They enjoyed it. But my heart was in my IT company. It was my day-to-day. It's what paid the bills. It provided jobs for a lot of people. I sacrificed my school. I closed it down so I could focus my time there. In a sense, I sacrificed my martial arts reputation in that area. I did not do what was in my students' best interest, right? Like I did a lot of things. It was agonizing. It took a lot of time for me to not only prepare and make that decision, but to recover from it. It still hurts. I'm still sad that I made that decision, even though it was the right decision. No one could have stopped me. If someone had said, Jeremy, you can't do this, I said, of course I can. It's my school.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So, Mark, I hope that answers your question to your satisfaction. I'm sure he'll let us know if it doesn't.
I hope so.
So it's getting colder out.
It is getting colder out.
You and I are in New England, Vermont, and New Hampshire, respectively. You and I. With the colder weather comes wearing, bundling up a little bit. I'm wearing my dragon hoodie right now because that's a little chilly in my basement where I do my recording.
It was a tour shirt.
Are there other Whistle Kick merch that would be appropriate for those of us in New England where it's getting colder? Any new stuff on the horizon?
There's constantly new stuff on the horizon. The reason this is here is that we're done with tour dates for 2022. This was like a early version. We updated the back as we added more dates, but I'm going to do a final version. One. What's that?
I said I got to get one.
I'm going to do a final version of the shirt and the hoodie for people to grab for the end of the year. So that's coming. What else is out right now? Over the last couple months, we rolled out the fall collection, which I know it seems strange that we're talking about the fall collection in November, because in New England in November, we think of it as winter, but it's really not winter for another month. Hoodies, sweatpants, hats. There are winter hats. You can pick up one of those dragon hoodies like Andrew's wearing through the end of 2022, and you pick the two colors. Then I'll send you a mock-up.
Awesome.
There's always stuff. If you're not checking out whistlekick.com like every few weeks, you're missing stuff. Like there's so much going on here.
All right, we have a question that came in from the chat.
Okay, cool.
And this is from Left Leg J.
Hello, Left Leg J. Left Leg J joins us on First Cup some mornings.
And he says, he or she says, good morning. In general, what do you think a person's very first martial arts lesson look like? I'm assuming they mean should look like.
Assuming that there is not that they're defining lesson as the first time they're in the school, not first time they're in the public class. Because the most important thing is that people know what to expect, that we make an effort to make them feel comfortable. Anybody who's starting a new thing is nervous. And we live in a time where there are so many options, and we have conditioned the rest of the world that it is okay to belittle someone for not knowing just watch any martial arts on any platform. You don't even have to say you're an expert. You could say, hi, I learned this yesterday, and people will still tear you apart and tell you to not bother. So if we make their first experience one that is comfortable, hey, when you come in, we're a school that asks you to bow here. The bathrooms are over there. Please take your shoes off and put them there. We expect that you wear athletic clothing or your uniform or whatever. Make sure they know what to do. And if it's more than like two things, give it to them on a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And then once that's covered, because it shouldn't take that long, hopefully it doesn't take that long, you give them some very, very basic things from which they will see success. Here's how we punch. We make a fist like this. And when we punch, we try to hit here. Here's a heavy bag. Why don't you hit it? Or here's a shield. Why don't you hit it? Give them an experience where they are going to succeed, where they're going to be able to correlate. Hey, I put in a little bit of effort and I felt good about it. The results coming back out of it were good. And if you do those two things, comfort and correlating effort to results, everything will be fine.
Yeah, I would agree. It's all about making them feel comfortable. Yeah, great question. Great question. All right. Normally we do 4 questions, but I have the 5th one that I want to throw in today.
Let's do it.
It's a fun one to end on. Again, it's from Mark Warner.
Okay. So,
Mark, buckle up, buddy. This is going to be fun.
And to be fair, we have time. So if somebody in the chat has another question, like, we're not going to go forever, but as long as good questions are coming in and it's within times that you and I have, I'll keep answering.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the last question I have planned. If something comes in, we'll deal with it. So this one's from Mark. Here we go.
Okay.
Tag team wrestling, Dennis Campo and Jeremy Lesniak versus Andrew Adams and Craig Wareham. Who would win?
Craig has the wrestling experience. Both you and Craig are taller than Dennis and I. But I think Dennis and I would have the style points.
Yeah, we're both bigger.
You are definitely bigger. Now, did he say professional wrestling?
He said tag team wrestling, which
so the question is, if this is professional wrestling, we're playing to the crowd, working the crowd up to support you is relevant in the decision.
Okay.
Then I think that's the only way Dennis and I have a chance.
See, because I don't know that
Dennis's woo is only surpassed by Ric Flair. Anyone who's heard this in person, I have said for a very long time that if I was ever a pro wrestler, I would be stealing a few finishing moves. The first one, the one I would become known for, sweet chin music. I've got a good sidekick. I can put it on anybody's chin at any time as long as they're within range and, somewhat willing to let me. So I think if there was that, right? If it was seen as these two underdogs, bringing forward some of the most beloved elements of wrestlers of yonder year, then we could get the crowd behind us. And who knows, maybe somebody comes running in from from the back and hits the two of you with a chair to support us, and then we win.
Maybe I don't know. No idea. I will say I'm a pretty exuberant guy. I'm pretty good at hyping a crowd up. So,
but if the two of you were seen as beating on two smaller men,
that's fair. Yeah,
that doesn't look good for you. That's not. No,
you're right. Look. You're right. That was a fun question, Mark. That was very fun.
That's really good.
Mark also commented on the last question. Listening to Jeremy talk on making students feel good reminds me, if you want more, check out his school consulting. It really rocks. Trust me, I know.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
That's very nice.
Any other questions?
Not that I have on my list. I mean, I have others on my list, but I was going to save them for next time.
Okay, that's fine. I just, in case any had come in the chat, like this is
none have come in. But if you're in the chat and you want, shoot a message.
But the consulting stuff is something that I try to talk about in the outro, because it is something that we do really well. It's, if you know what Whistlekick is and what we do, if you know the spirit of everything we offer, we take that into the consulting side. We help you grow with integrity and support you in what you're trying to do with your school. Every school is not the same. Every school owner's goals are not the same. Some school owners do not want to be full-time. Some are trying to do less themselves. Some are trying to convert from part-time to full-time. We can help and have helped with all of these over the years. And it's something I'm really proud of. I've got decades of consulting experience. Truly, like my first job out of school was IT consultant. Guess what? If you learn how to ask the questions, all consulting is the same, assuming you have a body of knowledge that is relevant. Well, yeah. I've got, 700 and whatever episodes of showing you what I believe, what I feel, what I think. And I've benefited from the conversations that I've had with many, many guests. And just as everything we do, you get the best stuff for free. If you want to piece together everything I believe and what you think I should do, what I think you should do for your school, you can check out the relevant episodes and read the books and everything. All that stuff's out there. But if you want my help with it, yeah, you can reach out and we can do it. And honestly, it's probably going to cost you less than a lot of other options. I'm not going to throw shade at them, because a lot of consulting services out there do a great job, but we do it the Whistlekick way and nobody else does.
Mark says up and down head bob. Mm-hmm.
All right. No more questions?
No, we're good.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming by. Thanks for watching live. To those of you who did so, I appreciate you. It makes it fun. Andrew, as always, I appreciate you and you putting together this stuff on the back end. That means I just have to show up and do what I do, which is talk. I'm pretty good at the talking part. Listeners, you can always let Andrew know if you've got another question that for next time, for the 22nd installment of this series. Andrew at whistlekick.martialartsradio.com. I'm Jeremy at whistlekick.com. Our social media is at whistlekick everywhere. I appreciate each and every one of you. And that takes us to the end. Until next time, train hard, smile, and have a great day. Ah, boom.